Here's why your team will never pull their own weight. I get it. That is a very bold thing to say. And I want to be upfront about something before we get any further into this video. I'm not talking about your team. I'm talking about you. Because when I work with business owners that are honestly doing, multiple seven figures in annual revenue, they have teams of, 10, 15, maybe even up to 20 people. There's a conversation that comes up almost every single time when I'm working with them. And it usually sounds something like this. I just want my employees to pull their own weight. I just wish they cared about the business the way I do. I just need them to move with me on this project so, I don't have to sail this ship on my own. And if you listen close enough, underneath all of that, there's something even deeper. And it's something like this. When I feel resistance from someone that I pay and I give them a paycheck, I fight back. I don't know any other way to do this other than to just get it done. I mean, be honest. Does any of that sound familiar to you? Can you relate to any of that? Because here's what's actually going on in those moments. You're not frustrated because your team is lazy. What you're actually frustrated about is that you feel like you're the one who is carrying everything with the business and who has to do everything, and that nobody else seems to feel the weight of it the way that you do. So you do what you've always done. You step in, take it back, you handle it all. I'll just take care of it. That's just what you say, right? And it's not because you want to, it's just easier that if you do it. Because if you don't, you're not sure it's going to get done right. And then it begins to stack up. And you start saying things like, let me just knock this out real quick. I'll feel better once this is off my plate. And before you know it, you're back in the middle of everything again. And here's the part too many business owners, they honestly overlook this. It doesn't start when, something big happens. It starts earlier than that. Someone on your team is handling something, you've handed it off to them, and it's just off. It's not feeling right. They're not doing it wrong necessarily. It's just not how you would do it. And, maybe it's like they're slower at doing the task. They're asking questions you wouldn't ask or you just think are unnecessary. Or they're just doing whatever it is in a way that just makes you quietly uncomfortable because it's not how you would do it. And then it shows up. You feel that spike in your body, the tension in your chest before you've even had a chance to think this through, right? And you just start thinking this is going to come right back to me, right back on my plate. The client's not going to like this. They're not going to like this. This could really turn into a bigger problem if I don't step in. And before anything has actually happened, you've already decided where it's going, where it's headed, right? So you do what you do. You step in. I'll just handle this. And then it gets done by you. And for a second, you actually feel better. You have this relief, you kind of pat yourself on the back and good thing I stepped in, right? But then it changes because now you're right back in the middle of everything. And the thought just comes right back around. Why do I have to do everything myself? Why can't my team just handle this? And that right there, that's the loop. And if you've been in business long enough, you've been running that loop for years. And this is where you begin to justify it. They just don't have my experience. I've been doing this for X number of years, and whether that's 10, 15, 20 or more, right? They just haven't learned what I've learned yet. And look, hey, on the surface, that all makes sense. Really, I get it. You have learned a lot. You've put in the reps and a lot of time over the years. You've seen what goes wrong before most people even are aware that there's a problem. And it reminds me, I had a client, they had been running their business going on 35 years. They're sharp, they're experienced, the kind of business owner who could read a situation before most people even knew there really was one. And they came to me one day on a call. They're frustrated. Their team just kept dropping the ball. They felt like they just kept needing them and just kept not handling things the way that they would, right? And at some point, I just stopped and I asked them directly. I'm like, hey, did you even give them a chance to like prove themselves? And there was this slight pause. And it wasn't to think about it, but because I think the question honestly like threw them off. And then they answered no. And it was just as simple as that. No. So I asked them, well, how do you expect them to learn? And they said, well, they don't have 35 years of experience. They can't make decisions the way that I can. And I said, how did you get everything that you learned in those 35 years of experience? And another pause, thinking about it, like, and then they say, well, I made mistakes. And here I go, right. And who gave you permission to make them? And that's what is never actually brought to the surface because no one asks you questions like that. You learned by getting it wrong first. You built the experience and built that experience because someone at some point let you figure it out. And maybe that was you yourself, right? And they let you feel the weight of the decision. They let you sit with what happened when it didn't go the way that you planned. But now you won't let your team do the same thing because you can live with it when you make the mistake. You can live with, you can't live with it if they do. That right there is the difference, all of it. And that difference is what is keeping you in the middle of everything that you feel like it has to run through you. You don't step in because your team can't handle the things. You ultimately step in because you don't trust what happens if they don't handle it or do it in the way you think they should. You don't trust how it all plays out. You don't trust what the client might think. And underneath all of that, if you're being really honest with yourself, is this thought. Well, if I don't fix it right away, people will think I don't have the answer. They'll think that I'm just not cut out for this. I mean, I've been here for 35 years. How do I not have a fix? How do I not have an answer for that? So you stay in control because control is the only thing that makes that fear inside of you quiet down. After years of doing this, it just stops being something that you do and it just becomes who you are. It's ingrained in you. People know you as the one that they can rely on. You're the one who is just going to make sure that everything gets done. And you'll be the one holding it all together if things go sideways. And if you're not doing that, then what are you doing? Better yet, who are you, right? And that right there, like that's the trap in all of this, because the answer that you've been running onto those questions, whether you know it or not, is if I'm not needed, I'm nothing. And as long as that's running in the background, you will always find a reason to step back in. Your team will always have a gap that needs filling. There will always be something that only you can handle. And it's not because any of that is actually true. You just need it to be to function. So if it feels like everything in your business does still come back to you, I want to be clear. You don't have a bad team. You've just honestly built a business that requires you to be in the middle of it all the time. And every time that you step back in, every time you take it back, you make that more true. There's more evidence for it to be true. And your team isn't failing you. They're doing exactly what you have trained them to do. Come to you, wait for you. Let you be the one to handle it. And the more that you step in to make sure that everything continues to work, the more that you're just guaranteeing that everything is going to keep running through you. That is not a team problem. Let's be really clear about that. And that is the trap that you built and are living in. So the shift doesn't actually start with your team. It starts with you deciding that your value isn't tied to being the one who holds everything together. And being totally honest, that's harder to change than a process or a hire because it's not this operational thing. It's not a task. It is identity. And that's exactly what I work through with the business owners that I coach. And it's not just how to hand things off better, but how to stop being the thing that your business can't run without. So if at this point you've made it this far and this is landing, there's something else that's worth looking at, because the same reason that you can't stop stepping in at work is probably the same reason your brain won't shut off when you finally go home. So I made a video exactly on that, and it's somewhere on this page, either left, right, here. Check it out, click it, watch it. There's going to be value in it for you. So leave you here with that, and I'll catch you on the next video.